Okay, welcome back to another video in the series for ICTWEB411. So, client-side script for dynamic web pages. Continuing our review of HTML before we kick off into JavaScript. So, in today's video, we'll have a look at images, using images as links, creating tables, the Nav Tag, look at some styles, some formatting tags, Div Tag, and the associated page sections that go along with that. So, in the last session, we talked about what makes a dynamic web page, the difference between client-side and server-side scripting, and we reviewed general tags, headings, paragraphs, lists, and links. And again, just a reminder for those that want to delve deeper into HTML, a good free resource is the w3schools.com. It's a pretty good laid out resource. So, font attributes, we can adjust the actual font itself, the style, the size of the font, its color, and whenever we open up a tag, we have to close it. So for colors, we can use the actual word or the hex value for that color. So we've got white, green, black, blue, red, and yellow. Now, for ease of viewing, I use the yellow background with black text. Just reverse that. With the actual setting up of hyperlinks and specific colors for their status, we can do that by specifying the link color attribute and the visited link attribute so that it changes color after you click on it. Here we have a picture of Bella. Now, Bella is an image of a cat, just in case you can't see the black and white picture very well. Now, an image has to have certain attributes, such as the source file, the alternative text is optional, and then width and height of the actual image. So, why do we specify alternative text? That appears if the image can't load for some reason, so it gives you an idea of what should be there. Now, be aware that just specifying width and height can be overwritten by style tags. So if you don't want a global style overwriting the criteria for your image that you're inserting, a inline style command will put the local criteria in its place. And to do that is use the style equals keyword in front of the width and height. That way they are used rather than the global style sheet. So to prove what I was saying, try this little document out for yourself. So start off with the docu type HTML, then HTML, the head style. So this is a global style for this page, and we're going to say image width is 100%. Close the style off, then put in a image, use whichever image you want to use, specify your width and height, and then a couple of lines down, do the same, but with the local style command. You'll see how a style sheet on the page can impact images and other things on the page, not necessarily to the betterment of the page. Now, it's quite easy to use an image for a link rather than text. So in last session we had the A tag with the href, close that first tag, and then we had some text, which is what is displayed as the hyperlink. Instead of the text, we insert the image. That's as difficult as it gets. Now, for some fun, why don't you have a play with the CSS float property and see how that affects the behavior of your image. Okay, so custom display for lists. So last time we just went through unordered and ordered lists, setting up the list items with the default values. This time we're showing you how, by adding the type equals into the tags, you can adjust the dot, or as they call it, a disk, to a circle or square. Now you can do that on individual line items, or you can do it in the first UL tag. Now in the example shown, I've tabbed it out for ease of reading. You don't need to tab it out. It can just be all over on the left parameter. But by tabbing it out, you can see each step. So you can see it, each new tag for the unordered list, we've put a different type in, and then closed off each individual list and stepped back to the original. Next one is our table. So we start that off with the table tag, and then within the table tags we define the headers, which are th tags, and headers will be by default bold and centered within their little field, and each row starts off with a tr tag for table row. Then each cell is defined with a table data tag, and you can put anything within the data tags to be put into the cell. That can be an image, a link, lists, other tables, whatever you like. Now, some of the options you have is to specify using different key tag words, if you like. Style, so this one you can specify the width. You can either specify it in number of pixels or a percentage of the displayed screen. Next is color span. So this will give you individual colors across a column or a row for row span. And the last one there is caption. This is basically putting a header above the table. So why don't you try to create a little table as a little exercise? I'll wait. With the beautiful thing of the pause key, you've come back and have it completed. I know. So here's a possible solution. So tab border, 1 pixel, style equals 30% for the width. Caption, timetable, and then each row is laid out with a table header for the first one. Then subsequent rows will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, etc. Okay, the Nav Tag defines navigation links, and all your links are confined within the Nav Tags. So this way you can create a menu, and if you use the pipe symbol after each closing A tag, that is displayed as a separator between the tags. Now we can do it as a row across the top or down the bottom, wherever you're putting this in your page, but it helps you create menus in text format. Remember, we're doing the basics. It's very easy for you to find images of home buttons and things like that that you could insert doing exactly the same thing. Next one is using an unordered list to create a navigation menu that you would run down the side with a disk or something like that associated with each command to separate it out. Just a different way of creating a menu. Now, styles come in 3 versions, if you like. We have inline, where we actually use the style in the same command line. We have a internal style, which we define in the head section of the page, or we could use an external CSS file. Now, CSS is a huge area just on itself, so please go have a look if you're interested at, again, W3 Schools, this time in their CSS section. So, style syntax for the next area. Now, this is inline, so we have our tag, whether it's A or whatever you want, and then you put the style equals, and then use a property value key pair. So remember, when we talk about styles commands, we are talking about the property and values that come from the CSS style sheets. It doesn't matter whether you're using inline or local, it's the same properties. So here we want to set up background colors, text font colors, the actual change the font size, alignment of the font. We can do that as an example for our H2 header. So style equals, and then we're doing the background color to pink, the text color the green, line height to 50 pixels, font size 40 pixels, and have a lovely view of that one. Give it a try, have a play, and have a look at what you can affect. Some of the other elements that help us format the text is the B tag for bold, marking text, deleting text, so that's the strike through, subscript, superscript, so italic. Basically anything we can do in Word, we can do in HTML. Now, as one of the assistants to visually impaired, we can specify up in the HTML tag the language that we're using in the web page. Now we do this so that other accessibility applications such as screen readers will be able to know how to convert the text to audible, so it just helps people. Title attribute, the P tag is a tooltip, so when you hover over something it'll pop up with a little descriptor box, so you can just put that next to an image and it'll pop up whenever your cursor goes over it. Internal styles is where we set the style parameters as global settings inside the head section of the page. Now this is where we can specify background colors, text, headers, whatever we want. Now, it's not a really good set of options there because we've set the background color to blue and then we've set the header 1 text color to blue. So we won't be able to see our headers. Just word of warning there. Alright, the div tag. So this is a block level which starts on a new line and takes up all the width from left to right. Now this allows us to divide up the screen into individual elements that we can then control what's occurring within this division on the screen without affecting the rest of it. Now, with HTML5, this has been expanded to have clearly defined areas within the web page, and we can access them by using the div ID equals and select the appropriate area that we want to affect. This works by specifying the area, and then all the code following this tag is code relevant to that area. And we close it off as usual. So that was a quick review for the second session, which is coming up with images, using images as links, a quick introduction into creating tables, the Nav Tag for creating menus, how styles work, so the differences between inline, internal and external. Then we introduce some of our normal formatting tags and how we can affect them. And then we looked at the division and page sections that are now available for breaking up a web page and isolating effects that we want to control. So I hope you've enjoyed this little theory. Please go through and do those little exercises and play around with the areas that we've discussed as part of the revision. Until next time, it's bye from me.